Good afternoon, everybody. So thankful for you all being here. My name is Greg Weatherford, and I'm the Youth Empowerment Program Officer for the Allstate Foundation. Go ahead, give me we'll take that. You know, one of the crazy things is we hear so much about how it's a pivotal moment in time and how doom and gloom things can be. But I'm here to tell you that I am so excited because we really have some phenomenal young people doing amazing things in our country and in our world. And lucky for you, some of those wonderful change makers are here today. Give them a round of applause. Now, Allstate Foundation has been empowering and supporting young people for a very, very long time, but we couldn't do it by ourselves. It takes wonderful people who are doing the work on the ground, and we love supporting great nonprofit partners. One of those is Roadtrip Nation, and I'm ecstatic to be able to bring on the stage the president and the co-founder of Roadtrip Nation, Mike Mariner.
All right, thanks everyone for coming. We're super excited to debut tonight the first footage ever from the Changemaker road trip. So it'll be airing on PBS later this month, but this is like the first look that anyone's ever seen this footage outside of our editing bay. So we're really excited for you all to see it. It'll be on PBS stations across the country later this month. And really what inspired this road trip is, you know, Roadtrip Nation. We're a national nonprofit based on the West Coast, all about empowering young people to define their own roads in life. And we've been doing this work for over 15 years now, but one thing that I think, as Greg said, that gives you hope for the future is that when you look at this new generation of young people popping up, they want more from their careers and more for their journeys than just like, you know, earning a salary, getting benefits. They want to like know that they're making a difference and contributing to the world. And there's a lot of complex problems that are out there. And if there's one thing that we've seen now with Roadtrip Nation doing this for so long is that, you know, there are so many different pathways for young people that they can really build around their interests, whether it's, you know, urban farming or any of these other number of things that you'll see in the film. So first, I just want to thank a few people. Like first, I want to thank our Roadtrippers, Jake, Genevieve, and Rahel. Thank you so much for like taking the leap of faith and the risk to like live in a motorhome and go across America for 2,500 miles and really be such incredible ambassadors for your generation and for your powerful vulnerability and all the insights and lessons that you shared. Like your strength really inspires all of us, so thank you. And I just want to thank everyone from Allstate as well. You guys have been such incredible partners and advocates for youth voice. It's not a lot of partners that are really out there that, you know, really help youth to have like a seat at the table. And this is a really important time in history where a lot of things are being redesigned, and like amplifying youth voice and centering on youth voice and putting the youth at the center of these stories is really powerful, having a partner like you all, so thank you so much. And also for all the students from the Ann Richards School who are here, thank you so much for joining. And thank you for like joining us in the motorhome this week. So Roadtrip Nation, beyond just the road trips, we also have a 5-lesson project-based learning curriculum where tens of thousands of students every year get to actually do interviews with people in careers they're interested in. So you can do Roadtrip Nation not just in a motorhome, but in your communities too. So thank you for being here too. And we'll let these guys take it away. So thanks everyone.
And I think really quickly, thank you, Mike, so much. We appreciate that. We're gonna start off with the trailer from the film. Let's go.
When I first entered college, I needed something creative. Art is such an integral part of like the Black experience, but I didn't think a creative job was something I could pursue because of my lack of money and network.
I'm from East Los Angeles. I had access to technology, but I think I didn't have access to was the idea that I could be someone making technology. It just wasn't something I saw in my community. Like, you can't be what you can't see.
A lot of people don't realize like how little time we have left. In my lifetime, I can see global temperatures decreasing. Like I can see climate change decreasing. I want to help the planet. But my confidence level, it's like, how am I going to do that? You really think you're going to do that? I'm just one person, like I don't even know where to start. Well, we're going to be doing a 3-week road trip.
All up the East Coast, ending in Chicago.
Meeting people who are doing what they love, making an income, and also making an impact.
I think when people think of social impact or social change, they usually think public office, and I think that's a big misconception.
And so we're talking to environmentalists, tech people, creative people who are leaders in their fields and making the change that I hope to one day make myself.
There's like no pretending that things are okay. That's step one.
But every day you should be getting up thinking about how you're going to make a difference and how can you play a role in the future of impact.
I ensure that my mission is to, as I rise up, reach back.
I finally feel now that there is actually a place for me.
The fact that we went on this road trip and did crazy things just represents the idea that the things we do is really limitless.
I'm here for a reason.
And I'm jumping in.
The changes that I want to make in this world are gonna happen. And I'm not gonna do it alone, which is even cooler.
Now, who wants to go on a road trip? Mike, I think you're gonna need a big RV. Well, before we get started, I just want to make sure you may have seen another fantastic face. Here today with us, we have Dr. Marsha Francis, who was gracious enough to volunteer as a mentor and be interviewed in the film. Let's give her a round of applause. Now, without further ado, I do want to introduce our stars of the afternoon, starting with Jake Torok, and then we have Genevieve Chen, and then we have Rahel Atkerson. Give them a round of applause. Now, I got a little FOMO just watching you all go on that. Tell me about how did you first come across Roadtrip Nation and this opportunity?
Yeah. Well, actually, funny enough, I was just scrolling through Facebook one day, and a giant, bright green RV popped up, and I was like, "What is this? Must be just like one of those fake ads you run across." But upon further looking into it, I was like, "Oh, this is actually a real opportunity." So, Facebook marketing, yeah.
So the summer after high school, I had a part-time job at an organization called Youth Jobs Connect, which is trying to connect youth to like better job opportunities in their area. And my boss remembered in college that this big green RV like went to their university, and they were telling us all about this opportunity in the scope of like great organizations doing great things for youth. So I signed up for the mailing list, and then a few months later, they launched the Changemakers road trip, and I was like, this would be so cool, and I applied.
And I work for a nonprofit through AmeriCorps, and so the program director at AmeriCorps sent out a mass email to everyone in my position explaining the opportunity. And at first I was like, there's no way I can do this. I'm in school. I'm like, doing so many things. But a few people really motivated me, and it was a great decision.
And obviously you all got to meet some really fantastic people. And I want to actually introduce everybody to our first clip, where we'll meet Ron Griswold, the founder of HBCU's Outside.
The other thing is, one of my favorite quotes is that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And you don't have to just think about that in the outdoor sense of things. It's like, we all have things that we're uncomfortable doing or that may put us in an uncomfortable position, but as soon as you step on the other side of that, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm now existing in this outer realm. I've expanded the bubble of comfort that I originally had. I mean, when it happens for you, it's like amazing, but to see it happen to other people, to nurture it to happen to other people, it's so beautiful, because it's like you are no longer the person you were when you came onto this trip.
I love Ron's quote, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. It's re-energized me in the way that I want to keep up, like meeting people and doing awesome fun things and seeing more of the world. And I now know that I can do that way easier than I thought before.
It's like once you step out of it, your comfort zone only gets bigger, and then bigger. And then before you know it, you're comfortable in this huge giant bubble, and you can do all these things.
One thing Ron was talking about, when he was doing these new experiences, he said that he had like soft skills where he was kind, he was caring, he could communicate. And I thought that was really valuable to like soft skills that people like to dismiss. I think, in my personal belief, I think it's stupid that people call these skills soft skills, because they're just like human skills. Like being caring for someone, listening, and having communication is such like a thing that everyone needs. He was very much shaping a mindset that can be applied to any of us. the mindset of caring for one another, basing your work in like communities, empowering people, taking time to just reflect and be in the moment, and choosing serendipity.
Wow, what a great clip. So I think that clip really embodies kind of this whole experience. What was it like? Yeah, obviously you heard about the experience, but once you were getting into it, what was it like actually stepping out of your comfort zones?
Yeah, well, especially for this road trip, I mean, it kind of forced us into it a little bit. I mean, accepting it for one made us go out of our comfort zone a little bit, you know, signing up for going on a road trip with complete strangers and kind of going at it from that point. So I think it really forced us out of our comfort zone in that sense. So
I think that was the main thing. When I've heard about the opportunity, I was like, this is so outside of anything I'd ever do, like live in an RV with 5 strangers. I'm like, this sounds a little bit scary, but I'm so glad that I did it, because I think it just taught me to just take every opportunity as it comes, because it can, the butterfly effect, it turns into so many other great opportunities.
I think it was just so fundamental in like exposing yourself to new experiences and things like that. Like Rahel and Jake are 2 complete strangers, and we're like, when we met, we come from very different backgrounds and we have very different identities, and not only that, very different, distinct personalities. And the fact that the 3 of us are now like, my friendship with them are some of the most meaningful relationships in my life, and the fact that we can come together as 3 people who are completely different but come together through love, respect, and also care and compromise, while still having very tough conversations about things happening in the world, is just great hope for like what other young people can achieve from different areas of the country or the world.
I actually want to follow up on that, because I think that's something that your generation especially does, is you embrace people for who they are. Talk about what it was like meeting each other for the first time and how seamless getting to know each other was.
Yeah, so our first day meeting.
Or was it not?
No, it was. I have a great story to tell too. So our first day meeting, we were in California and we instantly clicked. But we were kind of forced into a situation that made us bond, like really come together. So like Genevieve had this great idea, check out Laguna Beach in California. And we got to the beach, we were having a great time. I ended up switching my shoes to like walk around, left my shoes on the beach, but we didn't realize until we had hiked 40 minutes away from the beach. So I instantly just kind of like broke down. I was crying, and Genevieve, she started like making jokes, trying to make me feel better. Jake was kind of like big brother, like just all of our different personalities came together in this moment, and our dynamic was kind of like defined then. But it was just really awesome how we just like clicked instantly, and we really got along so well from the beginning.
yeah, and definitely like meeting them for the first time, like I didn't really have many expectations, but I was constantly wondering like, what are they going to be like? Like, what are our personalities going to be like? Like, we are getting in this RV for 21 days straight. Like, there's a lot of concerns going through my mind. And so, I mean, there were. But, like, after meeting them on Zoom for the first time, it's like, yeah, all expectations out the door. Like, kind of just taking it as it is and kind of get to know them. And I'm glad I did that, because, yeah, when you don't have expectations, it's just fresh and new and just kind of being like, what it is, and it worked out for the best with us 3, so.
Awesome.
There is that big point of being accepting one another for who we are and taking us as we come. And I think that's why I was able to thrive on this road trip, because I felt so comfortable, like I could be so genuine and authentic and bring my full self to anything that we did. And I think that was something that we all really cherished.
How can we maybe get others to embrace that, of accepting others as they may be, as you learn through this experience?
Jeez. Well, I mean, my biggest thing when I meet people is just like have an open mind, because I mean, we hear all the time that everybody's different, but like every single person from the second that they were born like has a completely different experience and point of view from you. So.
And I think too, because we're all so different, I think it's important to just remember you can learn something from everyone, even if they're different opinion, different backstory. There's always something to learn from people. So I really do think having an open mind is just key in being a better person.
And then lastly, like being very patient. I think that was something I really appreciate from all of us is that we were patient. We gave each other grace. We gave each other time to just like do what we needed to do, and also talked through things. Even when we were having very tough conversations where we very much did not agree at all on like certain stances, we gave each other the time and patience and like connected and still respected each other at the end of the day.
Well, thank you all for being such good role models on that front. We can all learn from that. So our next clip we're going to go to is with Courtney Richardson, who is the creative director of an organization that you all really like to see. So let's play that clip.
So for me, I always want to push the culture forward and showcase stories that maybe the rest of the world, hasn't necessarily been exposed to or really tapped into. So as far as the impact I want to have with those who are coming up, I want them to say, wow, that's me, on the screen, or I can relate to that, and decide who and what they want to be in the world, and especially for creatives of color. I just want them to know, and pardon me, I'm just getting a little choked up, but I want them to know that they're worthy, and that regardless of what anyone has told them, that, they deserve to be here, and they deserve the opportunities that they want to pursue, and that they can do it, and that they should do it.
How do you feel like you found those opportunities? Because for me, I don't really know what the advertising world looks like yet. I'm very much like easing into it. But I am very aware of my identity as a Black woman, and going into, spaces that I don't know how I'll be received. Like, how did you go and find the opportunities and like seize them?
Yeah, so it actually was seeing those rooms of being like the only one that was very eye-opening for me, and a little bit of a culture shock, but taking that and like using it as a fuel to want to create change, to want to have an impact, to create more seats at the table for people and for women. And so seeing those spaces, it clicked for me. I'm gonna actually create change. A few years ago, actually, I took a risk and I actually started my own agency. And that was super rewarding for me, being able to get women in the pages of Vogue who Vogue would have never heard of, different beauty brands and lifestyle brands. So every day, I ensure that my mission is to, as I rise up, reach back.
That's powerful.
That's cool.
To see Courtney making sure to tell the stories of Black people just in this like honest light, like we're diverse, and show the beauty of us as people. It's beautiful. And now I just want to tell stories of my people in a beautiful way.
Really a great clip. So you all went all over the country, 11 stops, 2,500 miles, got to meet with some fantastic people like Courtney. How did y'all decide where to go or who to speak with?
Well, I was, when I first heard about we were going to be finding our own leaders, I instantly thought of One School US, which is a free online portfolio school for Black creatives in America. And I had been thinking for a while about enrolling. And so I decided that, connecting with people who were involved in that would be a really great idea, not only for myself, but because they're also passionate about social change, advancing racial equity for Black creatives in the advertising field. So I just went on LinkedIn, looked them up, cold called, emailed, and they were all super responsive. And I think it really made me see how easy it is to just reach out to people and connect with them. I think it can be a little bit intimidating when you don't have connections, you don't know where to start, but just do it. I say, it paid off. Everyone was interested, and those are connections now that will hopefully last forever, so.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the film Kiss the Ground, but it's a documentary about regenerative agriculture and soil science. Talks a lot about food injustice and concerns around that. But in that documentary, there's a female, Passion Murray from Detroit, who founded Detroit Dirt, and that's kind of what fueled my passion for that. And once I saw her in that documentary, I was like, it might be in my state, but I still really want to meet her. And so that's kind of what fueled that. But In addition to that, mostly just kind of Google searching with different like keywords in the different areas that we were at.
But talk about how empowering that must have been to be able to actually have an idea to talk to someone and then actually work with Roadtrip to make that come to reality.
And then for me, I did a mix of trying to like look at leaders who were in charge of organizations that really impacted me when I was in high school and as a young person. So like Mark Murphy from Grip Tape, and then also Zach Lauda from Hat Club. And then also because I'm from Southern California and most of where we interviewed was in the South, on the East Coast, I'm not really sure what's going on there. So I asked my boss from that previous summer job to connect me with some people. For instance, she connected me with Doug Shipman, who's the Atlanta City Council president. And then also I reached out to other people on the East Coast. So it was just, as Greg said, it was very empowering to see like cold call these people, cold email, and then see this brought to fruition.
I think what was really empowering too is like prior to Roadtrip Nation, it's like I know that I can reach out to anybody that I find interesting and ask them questions or ask them to take some time out of their day to talk to me. But it wasn't until here where we kind of got forced into it a little bit in the best way possible, where it's like, yeah, we're not going to do this for you. You guys are responsible for, at least trying to come up with your own interviewees. So I think without being pushed into that, I wouldn't have actually realized like how easy it is to network and to just like talk to people, because people are people and you can learn so much from them, and it doesn't really have to be professional,
One of the things that I really love about this is the beautiful portrait of diversity that you all represent, but also in the folks that you spoke with. What kind of impact do you think this will have for other young people watching the documentary when they see people that look like them and have had experiences like them?
I think that, one, it really shows that people want to help and people want to help young people, support us, be there for us, and really mentor us. That's something that I learned on the trip. A lot of people really do want to help. And I think that with us being so driven and passionate about our separate causes, it's just like really empowering to know that we can find people, seek out those safe spaces, and be accepted.
I think a big thing with interviewing all these people is the realization that you are worthy just as you are. It is like a bare minimum that you're worthy because you're a human, you exist. And then also being involved with people who are accepting, but also interacting with those who might not accept you, but showing them that you are like a fellow human being and increasing their capacity for empathy as well as your own.
Awesome. Well, I know we just heard about Detroit Dirt and Passion Murray, so let's check out our next clip.
For me, it's about us not necessarily sitting at the table when we talk about equity. I also encourage young people of color to build their own tables. That's how you always have to think about it. And just know your value.
Mine is really specific, but something I really want to ask somebody. So like my mom and my grandparents immigrated from like Hong Kong. Growing up, there's so much like intergenerational trauma. People in my community, since we're so new to like the States, we're trying to move towards assimilation. So all of it's like go to school, get a good job, like make money so you can support your family and things like that. And no one ever talks about like social impact or like things like that. Like once we've reached a point of like we've met our basic needs and things like that, do we continue with the viewpoint that we should only be focusing on ourselves versus once we've met our basic needs, how do we change our mindset so that we're not just
You have to do both.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, you have to do both. You have to take care of you, absolutely. I have to pay my bills. And don't be afraid to, at some point in your life, be somewhat of a rebel and step away from your family. It's gonna hurt. There's gonna be some pain with that. But don't be afraid if that's something that you really wanna do, because I could see it in your eyes. You're emotional about what's going on. And so there's another child who's younger than you who might be on their way from Hong Kong here, that you can make a difference in their life. So you could say, you know what, I'm gonna use my tech pathway and introduce a tech that's going to address these issues. You'll figure it out because you're compassionate about it. You have to just find your truth, your role in this. And climate change is a heavy topic. To your point, people have to worry about how they're gonna survive in the inner city or urban communities. But I think when we make the connections with them on how they can play a role, The key is going in the community and getting to know people and building relationships with people. It's about how you do it, how you present yourself, and what you're willing to do. But every day you should be getting up thinking about how you're going to make a difference and how can you play a role in the future of impact. That's the key when you're bringing about change. And so you'll figure out you can't do it all. I can't do it all. And when I say you can't do it all, I mean at the same time. Create a list of things you want to do and knock those tasks down as you go. Don't stress yourself out. You're too young for that.
Yeah.
The change will come, trust me. You're already making change, you just don't know it yet. Some of us pay more attention to it than others, but you're making a difference.
I'm not crying. I don't care how many times I see that clip. God, it gets me every time. Happy Women's Day, by the way. Round of applause for that. God, that gets, I'm not kidding, that gets me every time. I was like clenching my teeth so that I didn't cry up here. I'm just so proud of y'all. I'm just so proud of y'all. For opening up like this and really allowing other people to learn through you and through your journey. I'm just so proud of y'all. Let me get to my question. Forgot my question. But just talk about passion. I know she was really impactful. What did you learn from her? Anything you want to share?
Okay. Personally, the biggest thing that I took away from passion was the amount of change that you can make just in your own community. Growing up and pretty much until like a year ago, I kept on asking myself, how are you actually going to make a change? You're in Michigan. Think of everybody who you know who's ever made a huge, impactful change. They're well known. They're in a big city. They're somewhere, not in Michigan. So actually,
we apologize to the state of Michigan. We love you.
I do, and I love my stays. So meeting somebody.
You got to go back there, Jake.
I know.
Say this afterwards.
But just meeting somebody in my own community and seeing somebody who's actually making a big change and a difference and how much of an impact that could make, it was mind-blowing.
No, that's
I think something that we talked about with all of our leaders, but Passion spoke a lot about really well, was the idea of sometimes it seems like you have to go into these fields and just aim for the stars, climb the social ladder, the work ladder, do whatever it takes to be the best, make the most money. And I think that with me, especially being in advertising, working for big corporations is not what I want to do really. I want to benefit my people, I'm creatives. So I think that I did ask Passion about how do you create these big platforms, these safe spaces without falling prey to corruption. And I think that she had really good advice about just being yourself, staying true to yourself, finding like-minded people, but don't be afraid to just go into those rooms where you might be the only one and talking to those people, building connections still, but staying true to yourself above all is really important.
And then I remember when we had that interview with Passion, just being so impressed by the work they've done within the scope of policy, but also community. A big light bulb moment that I had was reconciling with this idea of being kind and also strategic, because I think growing up, I saw a lot of people who were strategic but not necessarily kind, and that was demonstrated within the news where politicians trading off their values for to get ahead, or not just politicians, but a lot of people who are seeking positions of power. And initially they may have really good intentions, but sometimes if you don't stay strong in your principles or your values, those can kind of float away. And I think seeing Passion exert that passion and principle and also strategy to empower the work that she does at a federal level, at a community level, was just a reminder of what I can do, what we can do with our values and with that drive.
Awesome, and I think it was really touching how when Genevieve was having that moment, Jake and Rahel, you all were legitimately empathizing with her and supporting her. And it's just amazing that you were able to build that camaraderie so fast and support each other like that. So I told y'all we're in good hands. See what I did there? See what I did there? We're in good hands.
That's good.
I actually didn't mean that. Okay, but going on this incredible journey together, how would you advise those who are in positions to support young people, to better support them, knowing that you already have all these super capabilities? How can we support young people better?
Well, I think one of the leaders that we interviewed who really got this right was Mark Murphy of Grip Tape. He's the founder, and Grip Tape is an organization that provides a grant of up to $500 to youth between the ages of 14 and 19 to pursue anything that's of interest to them. And they have kind of like accountability partners who, I work for Grip Tape now after meeting him because it's so awesome. But they have accountability partners, which I am, it's called a champion. They just kind of like guide the youth through their challenge and their learning and just making sure that they're, staying on track. But I think that template is perfect because being a youth who didn't have resources and couldn't really, I didn't have the imagination to be creative and learn when, my family was in survival mode. So I think that it's really important to just support them mentally, have their, best wishes in mind, but really give them the freedom to pursue what they want and find themselves, learn about themselves. Because I think that when you're in survival mode, it's hard to really focus on other things. Like, I was told creative jobs don't make you any money. So pursuing art, learning about that wasn't really an option. But I think that if you're given the resources, you can become the best at anything. You just need that mental, emotional support, and sometimes that money too.
Yeah. And I think a big thing is don't patronize us, don't patronize youth. Like, we are individuals capable of critical thinking and this sort of things. And I know that if you're a young person now, or you remember being a young person, you remember the point of always questioning things, always looking at things critically, or being in opposition to maybe a lot of ideas that you've seen as a status quo. And that's a lot of critical thinking engagement and in processing who we are. And also, as young people, we're developing, trying to find our set of values. So as someone who's an adult or someone who's trying to support youth, there's this thing that also Mark Murphy, from Grip 2 said, is listen to understand, don't listen to respond. Because a lot of times, youth just want the biggest thing that we can have is a shoulder to lean on, someone we can talk to, especially when we're going through things of maybe mental well-being, and we want someone to talk to, but not necessarily someone who's imposing their value system upon us, whether that's intentionally or not, because we all have our own biases, and just remembering that we want, the best way you can support someone is by listening to them, truly, truly listening to them.
Yeah, and additionally, something that I always have to remind myself about is I was a kid once too. It's something that we all know, but actually putting yourself into that shoes and sometimes they'll say things that you're I would have never thought of it or would have never said that. And it was actually, I was a kid once. I probably did say something like that. I probably did think of something like that. So in addition to feeding into them and accepting them as they are, it's that's the best way for me.
Yeah, thank you. That is great advice for our audience, and perfect segue because we want to take some questions from the audience. And so now, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Now we're going to take some questions. Does anyone have a question? We have one in the second or third row next.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tyra Madison, and I work at Miami-Dade College, and we happen to have a change-making office. I don't work in that office, but I really want to. So as a professor, what I do with my first year experience seminar is I connect my students to the Sustainable Development Goals, and I have them do some research on what they're passionate about. But I found that it changes their idea of what it means to be a change maker. So I wanted to know, how did this experience change or expand what it means to be a change maker to you based on the day before you got on the bus and then your last day? What are some things, some elements that you picked up on from the people that you spoke with of what it means to be a change maker in your community?
Great question.
That's a really good question. I think one of the biggest takeaways I did is like a change is a change, no matter how small. Like you may think that the impact that you're making really isn't making that much of a change, but we've all heard of the ripple effect or the butterfly effect, like however you may think about it, like that one impact that you may make could just change the whole world. I mean, in addition to everything else.
And a great motto that Jake often said on the trip was, think globally, act locally. And so I think especially when you're in community engagement, it's important to just focus on what you can. Don't, try to pour into every cup, but definitely stay focused on that community, and with the bigger goal of, thinking globally, you'll eventually, feel the effects across the world. But definitely staying focused on what you can handle is super important.
I think jumping off of what Rahel said, especially with things like the UN sustainability goals, those are really massive, big goals. And recognizing that your impact, no matter how small, contributes to that, but also recognizing that you are not alone. There are a lot of people that want to do change the same as you, and seeking out those people so that you can collectively come together, not necessarily always have to rebuild the wheel every time, just working together and also gaining that insight, gaining that expertise from different people that you interact with is such a big part, and something that we really learn from all these change makers. And also that fundamental basic human connection gives you a lot of hope to tackle all these challenges that make every day seem hopeless, whether it's climate change or homelessness or things like that. So those are really great lessons to take away from our trip.
Great. And I think we had a question on the third row. White shirt?
That was me. My question was pretty similar to you.
Oh, okay. Great minds, great minds. Behind you, 3 or 4 rows.
Hello. I just want to say that you guys are amazing. I've just been back here woo! I'm so proud of you. Love everything you're saying. So I work for an organization called SAFE, and we work with teens in a smaller part called Expect Respect. And so a lot of I want y'all all to come work for us, but a lot of what you were saying is just worked into our program. And over the summer, we have a group of teens that it's kind of like their first job experience. So it's called Summer Youth Leadership Academy. And we kind of teach them how to be advocates and a lot of times open up their mind to different careers that are out there. So what advice would you give to students that are around 14 to 17 about exploring their career interests and being brave and getting out there after, being in a pandemic and not getting a lot of guidance?
Thank you. Genevieve?
I think a big thing is that be really open-minded to a lot of different things, but also be grounded in yourself and your own identity, and also be okay with your identity, your values changing. Because you are 14 years old, life is very long. Something I think Marsha said is, life is so long. Life is very, very long, and there's lots of times to change your mind as long as when you're processing your information, you're thinking critically and reflecting upon that. And I think being open-minded, especially when you're young and exploring so many different opportunities and possibilities in this world, is so important, and also just being really cognizant to reflect on it.
Yeah, I really do think that being open-minded, as simple as it sounds, is so impactful, and it can really change your life because you meet these different kinds of people, you start to say yes to more things, taking every opportunity as it comes. I think that that's the best advice we can give to youth, is just learn everything you can, always. I think learning is great, and there's so many different ways to learn, so really taking the time to understand yourself, your interests, what you're passionate about at those ages is really impactful.
Yeah, totally. And also, if I had to say, I'm sorry, I just blanked. I apologize.
If it comes back to you, we'll get it.
I might just sneak something in here, but something that I've talked a lot about on this trip, and something that I've kind of lived as a guiding value the past couple of years, is increasing like surface area for serendipity. So increasing like your opportunities to like not necessarily like opportunities, but just for like life experience. So for example, a really good example is me going on this road trip. This definitely increased my surface area for serendipity because so many like different things happen. Like I jumped into a lake and as someone from LA, like you cannot do that in LA. There's no water. And then also like after this Ezra Hell, like I also work for Grip Tape now. So, and I'm like here at South by Southwest and that's like insane. Like I told my friends I was going to Texas and they're like, why? So, and all these opportunities have shaped me as who I am. So just as it's another aspect of being open-minded.
Yeah, and that thought came back to me, thankfully. Sorry. Change is scary, and like the unknown is scary, and something that I always have to remind myself is like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but that is exciting. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. Like there are so many options out there, but there are so many options out there. So it's just kind of like challenging the way that you think about things and challenging the way that you like look at things.
Fearlessness must be practiced.
There you go.
I think that's something great that we kind of touched on, but just having no expectations for anything. Like you can get really disappointed that way. So I think that it's important to just go into things free of expectations and just let it go with the flow.
I have a wise friend who told me that recently too, so I really appreciate that. Third row, middle of the aisle, and then fifth row.
Hi, all. I'm a teacher here in Austin. Rahel, I know you mentioned that you're in college currently, and so I was curious if all of you are currently in college, and if you took like a semester off to do this, and if that changed your idea of like the typical going to college for 4 years pathway, or if it changed. I know sometimes students will like take a semester abroad, and if that changed ideas about like, I don't know, taking gap time to do things like within our country, and just your ideas about that. I'm curious about.
So we actually are all students in college. I go to Temple University, Genevieve goes to UCLA, and Jake goes to University of Michigan.
Close. I go to Grand Valley State University. It's okay.
There you go. Okay. Well, that was our biggest concern. All three of us were like, we're students, work really hard. So how are we going to make this work? We did it all virtually. We just, told all our professors. They were super cool and really encouraging. And I think that for me personally, I've been in college a while. I'm 24. So I have been in college and just on this journey for like 6 years. And I think it's so important to my journey that I took gap years. I took 2 in total, broke them up. But, the traditional path of going straight from high school to college can be so exhausting and overwhelming for an 18-year-old, especially one who was never given the opportunity to like really figure out what they're interested in. It's like you're making such a big decision when you're going to college, and picking a major, results in debt and like years that you're just like you don't know what you're really doing. So I think that it's important to take time to learn about yourself, especially gap years, no matter how, much your family says, don't do that, you might, fail or something. It's just important to like really listen to yourself, believe in yourself, have undying faith in yourself and your goals and your vision, and just take all those opportunities, take the time you need, because we're all on different paths. And I think it's important to realize that your path it's right, no matter what happens, whatever obstacles, they're all meant to take you onto your bigger purpose.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, like there is no rush to it. Just like thinking about myself 4 or 5 years ago when I was just starting college, it was like not at all what I'm doing now. And if I would have stuck on that trajectory, or if I would have just stuck on that and just been like, I gotta get it done, instead of like actually enjoying where I'm at and like getting to know myself in the process. So it's like there really isn't a rush, because like, yeah, I'm also 25 and I'll be graduating, and I get a lot of my peers who are like, you're 25, like what did you do wrong? It's like, actually, I'm 25 and I took my sweet time, and I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. So, but yeah, going on the road trip and doing school on the road, I think the biggest thing that I have that I'm thankful for is that my professors were understanding and supportive, and the fact that I was like able to communicate with them openly, and they were supportive, and like, wow, that's an awesome opportunity to go get them. So I think without that.
And I'm a second year in college. So right now I'm 19, and when I went on the road trip, I was like 18 as a freshman. And I think that really impacted how I look at a lot of things. I think going into this road trip, I was someone who really wanted to take a lot of opportunities in life. Like I have a lot of privilege in the fact that I grew up in a community where people were very kind and generous, and also in my community, like I grew up, like most people in my community are like immigrants or second or first generation. And that whole idea of like diaspora for the sake of making opportunities for your children and things like that, that really implanted in me as like, I need to take advantage of those opportunities to grow in the sense that I can help others, but also enjoy life, because that's like a really big deal. And that's why people work so hard very often, and they always forget that, like to have fun. So this has impacted me in the sense that I'm also more open to taking routes that are maybe not so traditional, because I think right now I'm seeing life very holistically, and also to that point where life is very long, like I can make a lot of different decisions. I didn't actually take a gap year, but I'm actually maybe interested in taking like gap quarters to work internships and doing things that you can only do with your title of college student. And I think recognizing that even especially nowadays, if your basic needs are met, you have the opportunity to go on a lot of different pathways, whether or not that's even college and things like that, and just being open and yes.
Love it, love it, love it. I think we have time for one more question. I saw a hand over here first. Do you still have a question? Okay.
I think I'm loud enough. So my question is, sorry, they weren't gonna. Okay. 21 days is a long time to be together on a journey. Were there any specific moments of self-discovery where you discovered something new about yourself? Or did you have any aha moments on the trip where you were like, oh wow, I never thought about this, I never knew this, I never knew I could?
I mean, as corny as it sounds, like before the road trip, there were actually thoughts that like, I can't do this. Like, I may have gotten through the interviews, I may have gotten offered this opportunity, but like, I don't know if I can actually go about and do this. Like, I'm scared, I'm terrified, like, I don't know if I'm actually gonna fit in. But yeah, just kind of shooting the gun, just saying I'm gonna do it.
I feel like the whole trip was just one big aha moment. Like, I feel like I learned so much about myself that I didn't know before. Just living with, this many people in an RV, I think that alone taught me so much about myself and patience. And I think like the whole thing was very, I don't know, it was just I kind of just look at it as one big trip. Like, I learned so much about myself just from being with other people, meeting other people, like we said, talking about our differences. I definitely think that just the whole opportunity, saying yes to that, really changed my life and, yeah, taught me so much.
I mentioned this a little bit, like briefly, but I think the biggest thing I took away from this trip is like how to build relationships and maintain them. As like when I was younger, I had a really hard time like making friends. I was really quiet, and I also like had a lot of social anxiety. I still do, but I think the big thing of coming to this trip where there were people who like embraced me for who I was and had that patience, and also I have like new like 5 best friends who all went to the road trip with me, and just seeing that and seeing how that has manifested. Like, I still talk to Jake and Rahel very often. We haven't seen each other in like 1 year. This is kind of like our 1 year anniversary since and we're always like so excited to see each other. Like, we've been running around Austin getting smoothies and like and just like talking about life and things like that. And I think, like, aside from the topic of like social impact, that's something so fundamental, and I'm so lucky to have like people who care about me and accept me for who I am, and that's allowed me to thrive at school, on this road trip, and totally it's gonna help me thrive in the future. So I think just forming those genuine relationships and learning how to maintain them as a young person has been so extremely impactful, because I know this will take me on for like the rest of my life, no matter what I do.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your questions. We'll have hopefully a little bit more time at the end to answer a few. Speaking of relationships and people that care about you, would love to show you a little surprise clip.
Oh no.
Hey, road trippers. It's Dr. M with Steam Truck. Congratulations on a job well done, a journey, part of the journey finished. I'm so excited to see the other profiles and hear all that you learned from the other great leaders. Congratulations. I'm sure that you learned a lot about yourself and others and the world as you went on that trip. Just here to share some words of encouragement. Y'all are brilliant. It was wonderful to talk with you and hear all the ideas that you have to shape the world. Know that your path does not have to be straight. You can learn something at every part of the journey, and the world needs you. However you show up, decide to be that and stand in it, and know that they need all of your brilliance, all of the things that make you you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and keep on tripping across the world. I look forward to watching how you shape our world.
Hey Jake, hey Rahel, hey Genevieve. When I heard that you all are going to be on a panel for South by Southwest EDU, I got so excited. Why? Well, because it means that even more people get to hear your story and be inspired by your journeys, just like I was when we got to sit down for our interview. I want to tell you all that you all got next. You are the future, and that you all are the change makers of tomorrow. Remember to always be passionate, to stay dedicated, and always stay determined, because you all are going to be making impact across climate change and STEM and creativity and representation. And whenever that voice creeps in and tells you that you can't do it, remember that just like Nike, to just do it. And don't forget that it's not about the destination, but about the journey. Congratulations, and know that I'm so, so proud of you all. Good luck.
Almost got me again. I'm gonna make it through this. We want to take a quick moment for you all to participate in an audience poll. If you could follow the instructions, if you can follow the instructions there on the screen, we would love to have you participate in that. While they're doing that, so this is getting ready to air later this month nationally on PBS. So excited for that. What expectations or what are you looking forward to as folks get to start to see the film?
I mean, I've been talking about this nonstop since it's happened. I've told so many people in passing, teachers, classmates, I've told lots of people about the documentary. So I think the fact that so many people have been supportive of me from before I went to while I was on it and still, that has felt so good. And it's nice to know that people are looking forward to it just as much as I am.
I think in addition to my excitement for everybody else seeing it, I think it's gonna be really impactful for me to actually see it on screen. We've been part of it for this whole past year, and this in itself, South by Southwest, has brought it into fruition. But I really think actually seeing it is gonna make it really hit home that wow, we actually straight up did that.
Yeah, I think it's still a shock that I went on with 5 strangers as an 18-year-old person who was before COVID I was 16 and then I popped out 18 in college, so that was kind of scary. And then right after that I went on a road trip with 5 different strangers. So I'm really excited about the end product, and I hope that it inspires more young people to be very open-minded, take risks after your basic needs are met, and just encourage people to imagine people more complexly with more empathy, and just realize that you are worthy, you matter.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to show the results. So let's see. The question was, how can you support a young person in your community to be a change maker? And so some of the ones that we have: become a mentor, also elevate their stories and voices, and then also by providing unique opportunities for self-discovery and career exploration. What do y'all think about what you're seeing up there? Do they get the Changemaker stamp of approval?
Definitely. I think it's so cool that some of the things we said are up there. We're already, making change, being impactful. It's nice.
So go out there and do it.
Now, we're closing out on time, but just as you reflect on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and experience, is there just anything that you'd like to share with the audience for as they kind of leave and can take away with them?
I mean, if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like, yeah.
I think just, being open-minded, like I said, that undying faith in yourself will take you so far. And just listen to your voice. It's nice when other people are praising you and giving you feedback, but I think, take it with a grain of salt and always believe in yourself and your dream and your vision.
I think the power of listening to people versus imposing solely your viewpoint is so important, whether it's just having conversations with people, being patient with them, or when you're trying to impact a community at large, actually talking to the people who make up that community versus assuming that you know best for what they need.
So, first off, thank y'all. We really appreciate y'all. Give them a hand. Doing this work of working to support youth every day, it can feel challenging, but to see the fruits of that labor from the collective world and those who've supported you, I'm just so honored to have shared this stage with you all, and I know you're going to do phenomenal things moving forward, so really thank you. And thank you all for attending. Give yourselves a round of applause. As I mentioned, the film will be premiering later this month. You don't have to wait that much longer, on the 29th. And as you see, we have these wonderful postcards that you can find all of the information. One of the things that I want to challenge you all to do is find some young people in your life and show them this film. It really is a wonderful opportunity to not only let them learn from the opportunity and the experience that they had, but for us really to have some meaningful conversations. So much of empowering young people, of course, is about the opportunities that we provide them, but it's about really listening to them. And we don't do that enough. And as you can see, they're quite wise. And so please, please, please find this film and make sure to share it with your young people. Get some popcorn, kick back, and have a really great time and hopefully a great conversation. And Mike, I think you're gonna need to buy some RVs. But thank you all so much. Well, you wanna say something?
No.
Oh, okay. We're gonna hang out. Before we end, I was wondering if y'all would help me really quickly. Just say happy birthday to Marissa. Stand up really quickly, Marissa. Just wave your hand, okay. We are all sitting here today in part because of Marissa, so it's her birthday today. We are so thankful for her and all of our colleagues. So thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.